right now on this particular video. Okay, so anyways, I want to show you something. So I've got this set to, yeah, slow. Now I want to show you something about this particular, this is the type of video that's not been shown by, I would say, at least 95% of those who are covering this story, which is about the ICE incident in Minneapolis where this lady tries to mow down an officer, and they're trying to present it like he didn't have any authority or duty or any common sense going out there, and they're trying to act like basically he jumped out in front of her car. And so I just think that if people are not willing to see this clip, then they don't want to hear the truth. So what I want to point at right here, see this guy right here? This is an officer. Okay, let me go ahead and see if I can't get this in better quality, if there's anything available. No, it's 720. Okay, so this is, you probably, if you've watched this at all, this was an incident where there's been a lot of stalking and federal crimes committed against ICE officers, and they're not allowed to blow whistles and warn anybody that ICE is on its way. That's actually a federal crime, and I'm going to go into the statutes. I'm going to go into the detainment centers that they're currently building. I'm going to go into the rulings that SCOTUS has actually paved the way to send in the military, which is getting ready to be what's going to happen next. But I want to talk about this incident right here. This officer standing right here was ran over just months before in another place. This officer here was about to make an arrest of the woman who's now deceased because she committed federal crimes in their presence, and they'd had it with her. So they told her she was under arrest and to get out of her car. So this right here is the car. This is the officer. See this vehicle right here? This right here where you see my arrow is right here. This, let me make sure that I'm seeing it on, make sure I've got this playing live. Okay, so this is the truck, and they pulled up. This officer is in the street already. Her car's still way over here. And that's important because she backs up and then she goes forward. But the clip that they're showing is if he was over here trying to get in front of her car to stop her. But that's not what happened at all. And all of these media sources, this is Fox 9, all of these media sources has the same access to the very clips that this media is sharing. Okay? And so they should be egregiously ashamed of themselves. And I truly believe that the media should be held accountable for malicious propaganda. But anyways, as I was, so here's the truck. It pulls up, and they're approaching her car, and she's under arrest. She is now under arrest. They're making an arrest of her for federal violations, which I'll tell you the statutes that she was being arrested for. I'm going to show you word for word what those federal statutes are. He approaches from the side. This guy is way over here. Now I'm going to show you what happens when he approaches the car to arrest her. She's like, not only is she resisting and refusing to get out of the car and be arrested, she sees him in the road and she decides to run him over on her attempt to flee. He could not get out of the way of the car in time and actually was injured by her. That's when he pulled his gun out. And I'm not going to show the actual shooting, but just so you can see in slow motion, he is getting out of the way. And she ran him over. And that's when he shot her. So this is, and it doesn't even show you how many other officers was in the street that she was going to run over also. Okay, but let's play that back, because what they show is they're showing a clip of him being on the side of the vehicle, like they're making it like he's over here trying to go around and get in front of her car. That's what they're presenting on the internet, but that's not what happened. And again, this is him. He's already in the street. He's already in the street. And she's parked over here, and they pull up. This guy here pulls up. They're going to arrest her. It's over. She's going to jail. She says, no, I'm not, and runs this guy over right here. And he had absolutely every right to shoot her. He absolutely did. She did assault him with her vehicle. So again, he was already in front, okay? And they have absolutely every right to make an arrest. Now let's go into the statutes that I'm going to show you that they violated, okay? So the statutes that they violated, and it's not only federal but it's local. So 18 USC 111, it's a crime to forcibly assault, which is what she did, resist, which is what she had, impeding the officers. Anybody out there blowing whistles, I'm going to show you what's getting ready to happen, okay? What they're getting ready to do with all of those people that are in the street blowing their whistles and warning that ICE is on its way and all this other stuff. I'm going to show you what's getting ready to happen. So the aggravated offense, she would have gotten 20 years if she had lived. 18 US, or up to 20 years. 18 USC 1501, knowing and willful obstruction of an officer serving or executing any legal or judicial writ. It doesn't matter if it's ICE or not. Any legal or judicial writ. If you're obstructing by trying to warn people that they're coming to make arrests, any person in political office or any police department who is saying that that behavior is okay and encouraging that, I'm going to show you the statute that's going to make it legal. These people are getting ready to be arrested. I'm talking legal officials are getting ready to be arrested. So you want to talk about hoopla, it's getting ready to get heated. So under 18 USC Section 2, individuals who intentionally assist or encourage another to commit this federal crime up here, resisting and impeding in any way, can be held criminally liable to the same extent as the principal offender. And so under Minnesota statute 60950 prohibits anyone from intentionally obstructing, hindering, whistleblowing, letting people know they're on the way, or preventing the lawful execution of any legal process or the apprehension of another person. It's a state crime also. Felony obstruction, if they do it in a way that causes risk of death or even substantial bodily harm, like what that lady just did by running that officer over. And all these media people who are omitting, they're creating malicious propaganda by withholding that actual clip and presenting the other clip and misleading what actually happened, and putting lawyers on the stage to say that they're using freedom of speech. That lawyer should be disbarred. They had some lawyer up on some news media talking about they're using freedom of speech. I'm like, no, they're not using freedom of speech, because if they're out there blowing a whistle, they're literally committing these crimes, and that lady should be disbarred, right? And yeah, I'm going to get her name and her bar number, and I'm going to file a personal petition to get her disbarred and removed from having a license, because she is actually propagating that what they're doing is not a crime when it is. Okay, so so this is what is getting ready to happen and is already currently being done. They are building 7 large-scale holding centers that are designed to hold almost 100,000 people, and I'm sure they will build more if they need it. Okay, and all of these people who are out there currently in the street are going to be arrested. They're going to take these ICE agents out. They're going to come out, but they're going to have buses and vans that are going to collect the people in the street that's impeding them. And just like what he did when he said, you're going to jail, because she'd been impeding them all day, and then she thought she was going to resist arrest and run over an officer. That's not, that man didn't do anything wrong, and he's not going to be held accountable. And then people are like, oh, the FBI is investigating. Of course they are, because that's what they're supposed to do. That is absolutely standard protocol when something like this happens. But you know what they're also arresting? Check this out. Okay, check this out. They're going to arrest these officials also. Okay, that is going to happen. So in the last month, December 23rd, was Trump versus Illinois, were saying they could not federalize the National Guard to perform domestic law enforcement. Okay, but this is what they did. They talked about, this is what they said. They said defining regular forces to mean active duty. So first they have to use active duty under this statute. So they've already got they already gave him a statute that they can use active duty forces under this statute right here. Okay? And so, yeah, that happened. And the media was spinning that like he took a big loss when, he was overrode on the National Guard. I'm like, no, they just paved a bigger way for him to go in with the military. And it's going to be martial law. That's what's going to happen. He will send, he did have some active duty already out there mixed in with the National Guard. Okay. But they were trying to say, oh, well, that's a violation of Posse Comitatus Act, and the Supreme Court refused to agree with those lower courts. They're like, we're not going to go there. Instead, what they did is they gave him this path to use right here and said that literally, they're going to be they can now send into active duty under this statute right here because, in my opinion, the United States Supreme Court redefined what regular forces. I do believe regular forces meant like civilian police. I truly believe that's what it meant. But they redefined it and basically paved a new way that stating that they have to use regular forces. Okay, but anyways, it'll be always an argument in court. But the bottom line is Justice Kavanaugh concurred, and he noted that this ruling might inadvertently push the president to use the active duty military more often. He made that note so that kind of helps in arguments because they're going to try to argue against what the Supreme Court meant by this. But by him making that note in here that this might inadvertently push them to do this, okay, is going to help their argument because this is what's going to ready to happen. Okay. And so, yeah. So here's the situation on this right here, 18 U.S.C. Section 2, aiding and abetting. If a mayor or police chief, now we're talking about, and I've been screaming for months now, if you've been watching my videos, I don't cover legal stuff too often. It's a small portion of my channel, but I've been all over these congressmen every day for weeks. I said, listen, you've got to arrest these officials. You have to make the case to the Supreme Court to get them arrested for these federal statutes. And so that's what they're working on right now. The federal government has several legal tools it can use to prosecute politicians and law enforcement leaders who interfere with federal operations. 18 U.S.C. Section 2, aiding and abetting. If a mayor or police chief instructs their officers to physically block federal agents or provide sanctuary that actively hides these targets, they can be charged as if they committed the obstruction themselves. And 18 U.S.C. 2384, seditious conspiracy. Okay? And if two or more local leaders conspire to overthrow, to put down, destroy by force the government of the United States, or by force to prevent or even hinder or delay the execution of any law in the U.S., they can be charged with sedition. And then there's 18 U.S.C. 1501, the assault and obstruction of process. This applies to anyone who knowingly and willfully obstructs an officer serving a warrant. So all of those people out in the street, they're going to start rounding them up and putting them on buses when they go out there. And so that is getting ready to happen. And say this Mayor Jacob Frey or Governor Tim Walz is politically motivated illegal rebellion. It's not a legitimate legal dispute. So I'm just telling you what their argument is, right? And so escalations is already towards the Supreme Court. They've already said they're going to bring the test cases against these local officials to the United States Supreme Court to get the ruling that strikes down sanctuary laws entirely, because sanctuary laws are absolutely and always have been illegal. And so now they're going to get the United States Supreme Court to say it so that it will just strike it all down. And yeah, then it's going to affirm the federal authority to arrest local officials, because they're going to arrest local officials who allow them, not just that they incite it by going on the media and just basically demonizing the use of ICE, even though when the Democrats are in power, they make it even more arrests than the Republicans have. Okay, but it's only when Republicans are in power they make a big stink about ICE. I mean, did you hear any of this stuff when Obama was making arrests, or when Biden arrested over 1 million people in 2023 alone? No. So they just by allowing this stalking and impeding of the federal agencies, they can be arrested for that. That is going to happen, right? That is going to happen. And so, anyways, I just wanted to show that angle of that video in case people especially if you're from another country, I am begging you, please don't listen to the mainstream media. They just spin so many lies. And 95% of everybody who has covered this case has not shown this clip. Yet all of the media has had the exact same access to these clips, and they only show the side view of where it appears that he was on the side of her vehicle, and they make it out like he's trying to jump in front of her vehicle. And that is so, so far from the truth. And it's evil if you spread, even unintentionally, and you're not, because you're not taking the time to look at the whole story. And they're like, well, they're out there doing what they have a right. No, you do not have a right to go out on the street and impede ICE. No, it's literally a crime. I know a lot of people are trying to spin stuff like it's completely legal to do that. No, it's not. It's a crime what they're doing. Okay. So here he is out there in the street and she's running him over. Okay, let's watch that again. Okay, so this guy pulls up with his truck. She's being approached because she's going to be arrested and she knows it. And so she backs up a little bit and then she goes forward and she just decides to run him over. And he can't get out of the way in time. And she strikes him with her vehicle. She absolutely did assault that officer. And so, no, he wasn't on the side of the vehicle trying to get her in front of. He was already in the street. So he was out there. See this truck there that I was showing you? This truck pulls up. He's already out there in the street. And these officers have every right to arrest her because she committed felony crimes. And they're going to arrest her. And she's like, nope, you're not going to arrest me. And I'm going to run. You better get on. I'm going to run you over. And she did. So I'm just saying, this is the real deal. This is what happened. And please share this if you see this. And yeah, that's it for now.